There will come a time in your life when you realize you don't owe the world an explanation. You don't need to announce your every move, explain your every decision, or justify your every action. That's not growth. That's insecurity masquerading as transparency. Silence is powerful. It's not about being secretive, it's about being strategic. While the world runs to be seen, you must learn to hide in plain sight. Not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. When you're truly focused on yourself, on your purpose, on your personal development, you don't have time to debate, argue, or defend. You're too busy building your skills, building your habits, building your character. Because real work, real transformation, it doesn't need a crowd, it needs commitment. Every time you speak prematurely, you risk leaking your power. Every time you explain your vision to someone who doesn't share your values, you dilute your clarity. The goal is not to be understood, it's to be effective. And effectiveness begins in silence. Stay silent, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Stay silent, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're saving your voice for when it truly matters. You don't have to announce your moves. Let your discipline speak. Let your results speak. Let your growth speak. People may not see what you're doing now. Let them sleep on you. Let them doubt. Let them talk. But when your silence breaks, let it break through your success, through your mastery, through the life you've created while the world was distracted and you were dialed in. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Then let your life make the noise. Self-mastery precedes external victory. That's not just a phrase. It's a universal principle that governs all meaningful success. Before the world can take you seriously, you must take yourself seriously. Before your voice can carry weight, your character must carry discipline. This isn't just about mindset, it's about internal leadership. Because the person who cannot lead themselves has no business trying to lead others. In every field, business, sports, relationships, personal development, people often obsess over tactics, hacks, and shortcuts. They chase applause, visibility, and influence. But the truth is, none of that matters if your foundation is cracked. You cannot pour power into a vessel that leaks. And the leaks are within undisciplined habits, inconsistent routines, fragile emotions, and reactive thinking. Self-mastery is about identifying those cracks and sealing them with awareness, discipline, and intentional growth. What does self-mastery look like? It's waking up and doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's making decisions based on values, not moods. It's recognizing your triggers and managing your reactions so you're not controlled by your environment. It's turning inward and confronting the truth of who you are without excuses, without blame, without denial. When you focus on self-mastery, you stop negotiating with your lesser self, the part of you that wants to sleep in, the part of you that seeks comfort over challenge, the part of you that fears judgment, avoids effort, and runs from discomfort. Self-mastery demands that you confront that version of you and rise above it. Not once, but every single day. That's why it precedes external victory. Because success isn't handed to people, it's attracted by the person you become. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your habits. And those habits are shaped by who you are when nobody's watching. not who you pretend to be, not who you post on social media, but who you are in the quiet moments, the late nights, the early mornings, the disciplined, often boring grind of self-development. People often want the rewards of greatness without the sacrifice of self-discipline. They want recognition without refinement. They want to lead without learning how to follow the difficult path of personal accountability. But here's the truth. Your success will never exceed your ability to govern yourself. You are the thermostat. If your internal setting is low, no matter how high you momentarily rise, you'll always come back down to the level you've set internally. This is why many people sabotage their own success. They get the opportunity, the platform, the audience, and then lose it. Not because they weren't talented, but because they weren't prepared internally. They hadn't mastered their emotions. They hadn't developed the resilience to handle pressure. They hadn't cultivated the humility to stay grounded or the wisdom to stay focused. You see, external victory can come fast, but if it outruns your internal maturity, it will eventually destroy you. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming more aware of your own blind spots and taking full ownership of your growth. It's about doing the hard inner work that nobody sees and that few people applaud. That means reading when you'd rather scroll, exercising when you'd rather rest, saying no when your impulses scream yes. It's a daily battle between your future self and your present comfort, and the side you feed is the one that wins. People who master themselves move differently. They don't chase attention, they attract it. They don't need to prove anything because their life becomes proof. They don't waste energy on gossip, distractions, or drama. They conserve their strength for what matters. They think long term, not just in terms of goals, but in terms of legacy. Every decision becomes intentional. Every day becomes an investment. And over time, they become the type of person who creates impact. Not because they shouted the loudest, but because they listened the deepest. Not because they moved the fastest, but because they moved with purpose. External victories begin to follow them, not because they chased them, but because they built the internal infrastructure to sustain them. Most people never tap into their true potential because they never get honest with themselves. They blame others, circumstances, or timing. But those are just distractions. The real breakthrough happens when you turn the mirror on yourself and say, this is my responsibility. This is my life. And I will become the kind of person who deserves the life I want. That's not motivation, that's maturity. And maturity is the fruit of self-mastery. When you master yourself, you become dangerous in the best way. Because nothing outside of you can shake what you've built within. The storms may come, but you're rooted. The criticism may rise, but you're focused. The obstacles may grow, but so do you. That is power. Not the power to control others, but the power to control yourself. So if you want external victory, start with self-mastery. You don't need a title to do it. You don't need permission. You just need commitment. Quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Show up for yourself every single day. And in time, the world will see the difference. But by then, you won't need their approval because you've already won within. Silence is a strategy, not a weakness. In a world addicted to noise, where everyone feels compelled to constantly speak, post, explain, defend, and argue. Choosing silence is a radical and powerful act. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of control. It's the ability to withhold your energy from places that do not deserve it. It's the awareness that not everything needs a response. Not every insult requires a comeback. And not every battle is worth fighting. When you understand the value of silence, you stop reacting to everything. You begin to observe more. You listen more. You analyze before you act. You create a buffer between stimulus and response, a space where clarity and wisdom can live. That space is where powerful decisions are made. That space is where your growth multiplies. It is in that space, protected by silence, that transformation is born. People confuse silence with passivity. They assume that if you're quiet, you're weak. That if you're not speaking, you must not know. But silence is rarely about ignorance. It's often about intelligence. It's about knowing that words have weight, and that once they're spoken, they cannot be taken back. It's understanding that in many cases, the loudest person in the room is the most insecure. The person with the most to prove often has the least internal peace. Silence allows you to conserve energy. It's a protection mechanism for your mental and emotional power. When you stay silent, you're not drained by trying to be heard by people who aren't listening. You're not caught in the endless loop of proving yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You're not using your energy explaining your path to people who've never walked it. Instead, you redirect that energy inward toward improvement, learning, planning, execution. There is a time to speak and a time to be quiet. The wise understand both. Silence doesn't mean you accept disrespect or injustice. It means you choose your timing. You wait until your words will carry weight. You wait until your actions can back your message. Because silence is not surrender, it's patience, it's strategy. And often, it's the most intelligent move on the board. Think about the greatest moments of transformation in history, in business, in life. They rarely begin with noise. They begin in quiet, in reflection, in thought. The seed does not grow in the storm. It grows beneath the surface, in silence, in darkness, in stillness. So must you. Your next breakthrough will not come from arguing louder, from defending more, from shouting over opposition. It will come from withdrawing, sharpening your tools, mastering your discipline, and emerging stronger. The world tries to convince you that if you're not visible, you're not valuable. That if you're not constantly talking, you're falling behind. But that's a trap. Constant exposure kills growth. When you're always on display, you're always distracted. And distraction is the enemy of development. Silence allows you to detach from the noise and attach to purpose. It brings you back to yourself, your real self. The one not shaped by likes, comments, or opinions, but by inner truth, conviction, and quiet courage. In silence, you begin to hear things that noise blocks out. You hear your own intuition. You hear the lessons in your past. You hear the wisdom that your future self is whispering back to you, but only if you're willing to be still long enough to listen. Silence is a skill, one that must be practiced. It requires restraint. It demands intention. It challenges the ego, but the reward is clarity, peace, direction. When you stay silent, you take away your enemy's weapon, They don't know how to respond when you don't engage. They want to provoke you, to bait you into reacting, to pull you down to their level. But silence is elevation. It separates you. It confuses them. It disarms their power. And over time, it reveals who they are and who you are. Let your results make the noise. Let your actions be your voice. Let your success be your explanation. That's the strategy. Because when you stay silent and focused, people may doubt you, criticize you, or underestimate you, but they can never stop you. They will talk while you build. They will distract while you execute. They will wonder while you evolve. And when your time comes, you won't need to announce it. The results will speak for you. This world rewards the disciplined, and discipline begins in silence. When you're quiet, you learn, you grow, you adjust, you plan. You remove what no longer serves you. You cut off what drains you. You prepare for the next level, all without making a sound. That is real strength. That is real strategy. You don't owe explanations to people who aren't invested in your future. You don't have to justify your boundaries, your discipline, your vision. Let them question. Let them mock. Let them assume. Stay silent and stay working. Let time tell your story. Let growth show your truth. Let progress win your argument. The quiet season of your life is not punishment. It's preparation. Use it, embrace it. Learn from it. Refine yourself in it. Because when the moment comes and the spotlight turns your way, you won't have to raise your voice. Your presence will speak. Your excellence will speak. Your results will roar louder than any words ever could. So stay silent, not because you are small, but because you are focused. Not because you are afraid, but because you are building. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're saving your voice for when it matters most. Let the noise fade, let the distractions die, and let your life become the loudest statement you ever make. Energy is currency. Invest it wisely. Just like money, your energy is finite. You don't have unlimited reserves of focus, passion, time, and emotional bandwidth. Every moment you spend, every thought you dwell on, every emotion you feed, you are making an investment. The question is, what are you getting in return? Most people don't realize how much energy they waste on things that don't build them. They spend hours worrying about the opinions of people who don't matter, arguing over situations they can't control, engaging in gossip, scrolling endlessly through distractions, and giving their attention to anything that screams louder than their purpose. That's like throwing money into a fire and expecting a return. You have to protect your energy like you protect your bank account. Because while you can always earn more money, you can't get back wasted energy. There is a cost to everything. If you spend your energy on anger, you're not spending it on growth. If you spend it on proving someone wrong, you're not spending it on proving yourself right. If you spend it on fear, you're not spending it on faith. And just like financial debt, energy debt compounds. The more you waste, the heavier it gets. The more you drain yourself with meaningless distractions, the less you have for meaningful creation. You must become intentional about where your energy flows, because where your energy goes, your life follows. People think burnout comes from doing too much. But more often, burnout comes from doing too little of what matters and too much of what doesn't. When your energy is spread thin across obligations, that don't align with your values, you feel exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. You feel like you're moving but not progressing, busy but not productive, present but not purposeful. That's not living, that's leaking. And until you patch those leaks, you'll never operate at your highest level. Energy is your internal currency for building the life you envision. And just like money, you need to budget it. You need to ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this grow me, challenge me, bring me closer to my goals? If not, walk away. Because everything you say yes to is a no to something else. You can't say yes to every invitation, every argument, every distraction, and still have energy left to build your vision. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's strategic. When you become disciplined about your energy, you start making better decisions. You stop chasing validation. You stop entertaining drama. You stop giving attention to people who subtract more than they add. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Just because someone has access to your time doesn't mean they should have access to your mind. Your energy is sacred. It's the force that fuels your creativity, your focus, your growth, your leadership. It's not something to be handed out carelessly. That's why solitude is powerful. When you step back from the noise and evaluate where your energy is going, you start to see patterns. You start to notice who drains you and who fuels you, what activities empower you and what deplete you. You begin to realign. And that realignment creates momentum. Because when your energy is focused, you become dangerous. You're no longer distracted by the irrelevant. You're no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. You become centered, grounded, clear. You begin to operate in a different frequency, one that attracts growth, not confusion. Look at successful people in any area. They don't waste energy on things outside their control. They're not arguing online or watching every piece of drama unfold. They've trained their minds to prioritize. They've learned the art of saying no. They understand that energy is an investment, and they only invest in what multiplies them: skills, health, relationships, vision. They don't just work hard, they work wise. And wisdom starts with understanding the value of your own energy. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every opinion. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. That's wasted energy. The most powerful response is sometimes no response. The most effective move is sometimes silence, because silence isn't passive when it's intentional. It's a way to preserve your energy for what truly matters. Even in your personal development journey, be aware of where you're spending your energy. Are you constantly consuming content but never applying it? Are you busy planning but not executing? Learning without doing is another way energy gets wasted. Real transformation happens when your energy is directed toward consistent, focused action. It's better to go deep in one area than shallow in 10. Emotionally, your energy is your life force. If you let negative emotions dominate your day, anger, envy, insecurity, you're bankrupting your spirit. That doesn't mean ignore your emotions. It means manage them. Feel what you need to feel, but don't live there. Process, then progress. Because every moment you stay stuck in negativity, you're losing energy that could have been invested in healing, building, growing. You have to start viewing yourself as an asset. Not just your body or your brain, but your energy field. Who and what surrounds you? Do they charge you or drain you? Are you in environments that encourage growth or ones that promote stagnation? Energy is contagious. And if you're not mindful, you'll find yourself absorbing the stress, drama, and negativity of those around you. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. And one of the most powerful choices you can make is where you spend your energy. When you protect your energy, you start showing up differently. You make clearer decisions. You attract better people. You feel more grounded. You perform at a higher level. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. You move with purpose, not impulse. That's when life begins to change. That's when results start to align with your vision. Not because your circumstances changed, but because your energy did. So before you give away another moment of your energy, pause. Ask yourself, is this building me? Is this multiplying me? Is this aligned with who I want to become? If the answer is no, protect your peace. Preserve your energy. Because your energy is your power. And once you learn how to invest it wisely, there's no limit to what you can build. Your growth is not a community project. It is a personal responsibility, a private process, and often a lonely one. When you decide to evolve, when you make the conscious choice to become more, to rise higher, to go deeper into your purpose, you must understand that not everyone will support it. Not everyone will understand it. And that's okay. Your transformation is not meant to be understood by those still committed to your old version. They knew you for who you were, but they don't see who you're becoming. And you are not obligated to convince them. You don't owe anyone a front row seat to your becoming. You don't need approval to change. You need discipline. You need vision. You need silence. The biggest mistake people make when they start growing is trying to take everyone with them. Trying to explain every move. Trying to justify why they're no longer the same. But growth doesn't need validation. It needs solitude. It needs separation. Because in separation, clarity is born. You start to see who you were, who you are, and who you're called to be. And not everyone can walk with you on that path. Some people were only meant to be part of your history, not your destiny. Trying to carry everyone only slows you down. Trying to make everyone understand only drains your energy. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to keep growing quietly and let your evolution do the talking. There will be moments when you feel unseen, when it feels like no one notices the work you're putting in, the battles you're fighting, the habits you're breaking, the pain you're processing. And in those moments, you must remind yourself, this is not about being seen. This is about becoming. This is about building something real within you that doesn't collapse under pressure or depend on praise. You're not doing it for applause. You're doing it for alignment. You're doing it because your future self is depending on it. Your family is depending on it. Your purpose is depending on it. And that's enough. Growth requires silence because the loudness of the world is a distraction. Everyone has opinions. Everyone has advice. But only you have the vision. Only you can see the mountain you're climbing. And when you give too many people access to your process, you dilute your power. You invite confusion. You open the door to doubt. That's why the most powerful transformations happen in private. That's why real change doesn't scream, it whispers. It unfolds slowly, daily, deliberately. Until one day, people look up and say, "When did you change?" And you'll smile because, it didn't happen all at once. It happened in silence, in sacrifice, in self-reflection. It happened when no one was watching. Not everyone deserves to know your next move. Not everyone is capable of handling your evolution. And that's not your burden to carry. Protect your process. Guard your space. Because when you're growing, you're vulnerable. You're shedding layers. You're letting go of old identities, old habits, old patterns. And in that space, you need safety. You need intention. You need discipline. You don't need noise. You don't need distractions. You don't need the opinions of people who haven't done the work you're doing. Sometimes growth feels like isolation. But that isolation is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the cocoon before the wings. It's the wilderness before the promise. It's the silence before the power. In that space, you begin to meet yourself at a deeper level. You begin to hear your inner voice again. You begin to build integrity. Not the kind that needs to be seen, but the kind that can stand when no one else is clapping. That's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the kind of growth that changes everything. And as you grow, people will talk. Some will say you've changed, as if you worked this hard to stay the same. Some will feel offended by your boundaries. Some will distance themselves. Let them. Don't shrink to keep people comfortable. Don't explain to make them stay. You're not responsible for their reaction to your growth. You're responsible for your own elevation. You're responsible for becoming who you were created to be, no matter who doesn't understand the process. There is wisdom in silence. When you're quiet, you can hear your intuition. You can observe without reacting. You can learn without defending. You can move without broadcasting. Silence keeps you focused. It keeps you grounded. It allows your character to grow deeper than your image. And that's what matters most, because image can impress, but character sustains. And character is built in the dark, in the quiet, in the moments no one sees. That's where real growth lives. Your growth is sacred. Don't expose it to environments that don't honor it. Don't water your dreams in soil that can't nourish them. Don't seek encouragement from those who've never walked the path you're walking. It's okay to be silent. It's okay to be private. It's okay to protect your journey. That doesn't mean you're hiding. That means you're building. And when the time comes, your growth will speak louder than any words ever could. There is power in moving in silence, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused, not because you're insecure, but because you're intentional, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. And in that wisdom, you realize that real transformation doesn't need attention. It needs commitment. It needs consistency. It needs courage. And those things grow best in quiet soil. So let them wonder what you're doing. Let them question where you went. Let them assume you've fallen off. Meanwhile, you're in the process. You're elevating. You're healing. You're rebuilding. And when the time comes to remerge, they won't recognize you, not because you were hiding, but because you were rising privately, silently, powerfully. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's not about doing everything right all the time. It's about doing the right things over time. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, your goals remain fantasies. With it, your vision becomes real. Discipline isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek recognition. It shows up in the quiet choices you make daily. Waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. Saying no to distractions when they tempt you. Sticking to your plan even when motivation fades. Discipline is the muscle that makes success sustainable. You see, motivation will get you started, but discipline keeps you going. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. One day, you're fired up, ready to conquer the world. The next day, you're drained, distracted, disconnected. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline shows up anyway. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Anybody can be excited for a day or two, but the ones who win, the ones who master their craft, dominate their space, rise above the noise. They're the ones who stay committed long after the excitement is gone. Discipline requires sacrifice. It means giving up what you want now for what you want most. It's delaying gratification, resisting temptation, choosing purpose over pleasure. It means understanding that every decision has a cost. If you choose comfort today, you may pay for it tomorrow. But if you choose consistency today, you build a future that others only wish for. Discipline demands that you act in alignment with your vision, not your mood. It's not glamorous. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because while others are chasing shortcuts, you're building strength. While they're waiting for the right time, you're creating the time. While they're focused on how they feel, you're focused on who you're becoming. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. And those choices compound. The decision to show up every day, even when no one's watching, even when you don't feel like it. That's how character is built. That's how greatness is forged. Not in big leaps, but in small, intentional steps repeated over time. Discipline is the hidden engine behind every powerful transformation. It's the reason some people succeed with less talent, fewer resources, and greater obstacles. Because they kept going. They didn't let emotions dictate actions. They let values guide behavior. Look at any high performer in any field. Business, sports, art, leadership. Behind the success is discipline. Behind the mastery is repetition. Behind the praise is pain, struggle, and relentless practice. Discipline is what makes you dangerous because it makes you dependable. It makes you resilient. It gives you the ability to outlast your competition, outwork your doubt, outgrow your fear. Discipline isn't about control, it's about freedom. The freedom to move with confidence. The freedom to trust yourself. The freedom to know that no matter what life throws at you, you can keep showing up strong. And discipline isn't just about routines. It's about mindset. It's about mastering your thoughts, your emotions, your habits. It's choosing long-term success over short-term comfort. It's recognizing when your old patterns are sabotaging your progress and replacing them with new, empowering ones. It's holding yourself accountable when no one else will. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when no one applauds you, even when no one believes in you, even when you don't see immediate results. Because you understand every rep counts, Every choice matters. Every day you stay disciplined, you're one step closer to becoming unstoppable. Most people never reach their potential, not because they lack ability, but because they lack discipline. They wait for the right mood, the right season, the right motivation. But life doesn't reward the ones who wait. It rewards the ones who move, the ones who show up and execute, whether they feel like it or not. The ones who can say no to distractions, even when it's hard. The ones who train themselves to follow through, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. That's where real growth happens. In resistance, in discomfort, in the repetition of right actions. Discipline is also about boundaries. Saying no to what doesn't align with your vision. Saying no to people, places, and habits that drain your energy. Saying no to the parts of yourself that want to stay small, that want to stay stuck, that fear the work required to grow. It's about building a structure around your life that supports your goals, that protects your peace, that demands excellence from you, even when no one else does. Because you're not just building a life, you're building a legacy. And here's the truth: discipline is a form of self-respect. When you keep your word to yourself, you build trust with yourself. You prove to yourself that you are capable, committed, and worthy of the future you're pursuing. When you break promises to yourself, your confidence erodes. But every time you stay disciplined, every time you do the hard thing, your self-belief grows stronger. You begin to walk differently, think differently, show up differently, because you are becoming the kind of person who follows through. So yes, discipline is hard. It will challenge you. It will stretch you. It will test every excuse you've ever made. But on the other side of that discipline is the life you were meant to live. The version of you that is focused, powerful, clear, and committed. The version of you that doesn't flinch under pressure. The version of you that knows how to grind, how to rise, how to lead. And when the world sees your results, they may call it talent. They may call it luck. But you'll know it was discipline. Quiet, steady, unshakable discipline. The kind that doesn't need to be seen because it's written in your results. That's the power you carry. That's what turns ordinary into extraordinary. Not because you had less struggle, but because you had more consistency. Discipline is not just the path. It is the foundation, the fuel, the force that shapes everything you become. You don't owe everyone an explanation for your journey. You don't have to justify your silence, your decisions, or your evolution. The world has trained us to believe that every move we make needs to be broadcasted, explained, or validated. But real growth doesn't work that way. Real growth is internal, it's personal, it's sacred. And the deeper you go into your purpose, the more you'll realize that the loudest moves are often the least impactful, and the most impactful moves are made in quiet obedience to the vision only you can see. You are not on this earth to meet everyone's expectations. You are here to fulfill a purpose that was designed specifically for you. And sometimes that requires pulling away from the noise, from the crowd, from the opinions that try to shape you into something you're not. People often demand explanations, not because they care about your growth, but because your silence threatens their comfort. Your discipline challenges their excuses. Your focus exposes their distractions. And instead of dealing with their own inconsistency, they want to pull you into conversations you no longer need to be a part of. But you don't owe them anything. You don't owe access to your thoughts, your moves, or your motives. You owe yourself your full attention. You owe your vision your full commitment. And if that means being misunderstood, misjudged, or even criticized, so be it. When you start to evolve, the people who are comfortable with your old patterns may begin to question you. Why don't you hang out like you used to? Why are you so distant lately? Why are you always working on something? But the truth is, you've changed because you've grown. You've shifted because your goals have matured. And rather than explain yourself, it's better to remain focused, because the ones who truly respect your journey won't need an explanation. They'll support you without needing a full breakdown of every step. And the ones who demand one, they often have no intention of understanding you anyway. Your silence is not arrogance. It's protection. It's focus. It's clarity. There are seasons in life where speaking less and doing more is the most powerful thing you can do. When you don't waste your energy trying to convince people of your worth, you channel that energy into becoming everything you were born to be. And when the results start to speak for themselves, no explanation will be necessary. Your transformation will be the answer. Your consistency will be the proof. The fruit of your discipline will silence every doubt without you saying a word. Too many people sabotage their growth by over-explaining. They seek validation from those who have never walked their path, never carried their vision, never felt their hunger. And the danger in that is when you constantly seek to explain your every move, you start adjusting those moves to fit other people's comfort levels. You start shrinking your ideas, hesitating in your actions, and filtering your ambition through someone else's lens. And before you know it, you're no longer building your dream. You're managing their expectations. That's not your job. Your job is to stay aligned with your purpose, even if that means walking alone for a season. People will talk. Let them. People will assume. Let them. That's not your concern. Your concern is your assignment. Your concern is the calling on your life, the future you're building, the legacy you're laying brick by brick. Let your silence be the space where you build. Let it be the soil where your roots grow deep. Let it be the atmosphere where your ideas mature without outside interference. And when it's time to reveal what you've built, let your results speak so clearly that explanations become irrelevant. This isn't about hiding. It's about protecting your process. It's about understanding that not every thought deserves a post. Not every plan requires an audience. Not every next step needs to be shared. Some of the most important things you'll ever do will happen when no one else is looking. And that's where the power lies, in the decision to value peace over praise, purpose over popularity, progress over performance. Every time you choose silence over explanation, you're strengthening your internal focus. You're teaching yourself that your worth doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being aligned. It comes from being in sync with who you're called to be. And as you stay on that path, clarity will increase. Strength will multiply. Vision will sharpen. And those who are meant to walk with you will recognize your growth, not because you explained it, but because they witnessed the transformation that only silence could produce. You have nothing to prove. You have a life to build, a future to protect, a purpose to fulfill. Don't let the noise of needing to explain every move rob you of the energy it takes to make those moves. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep trusting your instincts. And keep your silence sacred. Because in time, your growth will speak for you in a way that your words never could. Your peace is too valuable to sacrifice on the altar of explanation. Let people misunderstand you. Let them question you. Let them wonder. That's not your burden to carry. Your burden is the dream that keeps you awake at night, the goals that pull you forward when no one else believes. The legacy that demands your discipline, your focus, and your faith. Speak less. Move smarter. Build deeper. Let your life speak, and let that be the only explanation you'll ever need. Success is not about proving others wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you are capable of becoming the version of you that you've always known you could be. Chasing validation from others is a never-ending race that will leave you exhausted, insecure, and constantly doubting your own path. The real pursuit should not be to make noise or impress the world, but to grow so deeply, so fully, that your life begins to reflect the discipline, focus, and excellence you've committed to in silence. You don't need the approval of people who have never seen your vision. You don't need their applause to be consistent. What you need is your own belief. Belief in the vision, in the process, in your ability to rise beyond any excuse. When you focus on growing in silence, your growth becomes authentic. It's not for show. It's not staged or filtered to gain likes or praise. It's rooted. It's real. It's the kind of growth that lasts because it's built on truth, not trends. You're not playing a role. You're becoming the person who was always meant to emerge. And when you stay focused on that kind of transformation, external validation becomes irrelevant. You don't seek confirmation from the world because you've already confirmed it within yourself. You don't need permission to evolve. You've already decided to. The world often tries to pull your attention in every direction, likes, opinions, comparisons, distractions. But the real work happens in the quiet moments where no one is watching. That's where success is born. Not in the highlight reel, but in the hidden hours. In the late nights of self-doubt that you overcome. In the early mornings when you choose consistency over comfort. In the countless days where you keep building, keep learning, keep refining. Without applause, without recognition. That's where champions are made. In the shadows, not the spotlight. Staying silent doesn't mean you lack ambition. It means your ambition is too important to be diluted by noise. It means you're no longer wasting energy explaining your every move. Because you understand that explanation does not equal execution. You don't need everyone to understand your path. Some won't. Some can't. Some refuse to. And that's okay. You're not walking for their approval. You're walking in purpose. You've chosen progress over popularity, depth over display, mastery over attention. And that's a decision that will separate you from the masses. Success is not about outshining others. It's about outgrowing who you used to be. That's the only comparison that matters. Are you more focused than you were last year? Are you more disciplined than you were last month? Are you more committed to your purpose than you were yesterday? That's the real measure of success. The internal evolution, the constant sharpening of character, mindset, and vision. And the more you commit to that growth, the less you feel the need to broadcast it. Why? Because you're too busy building it. You're too focused on becoming the kind of person who doesn't just talk about the life they want. They build it day by day, choice by choice. There will be times when your silence is misunderstood. When people assume you've quit or that you've fallen off simply because you're no longer broadcasting your every step, let them assume. Let them talk. That's not your business. Your business is to stay consistent, to stay grounded, to stay aligned. Your results will do the talking in time. And when they do, those same people will have no choice but to respect the process they never saw. Because you weren't focused on making an impression. You were focused on making an impact. The most powerful transformations happen away from the spotlight. A tree doesn't announce when it's growing. It doesn't scream for attention every time it adds a ring of strength. It simply grows steadily, silently, until one day its presence can't be ignored. That's what your journey is like. Quiet, unseen, often unappreciated, until it's undeniable. And when that moment comes, it's not about revenge. It's not about proving others wrong. It's about walking in the fullness of everything you were born to become. You see, true confidence doesn't come from convincing others of your worth. It comes from knowing it. It comes from honoring your process even when no one celebrates it. It comes from staying faithful to your journey even when it's slow, even when it's hard, even when the progress is invisible to others. Confidence is built in the silence. When you keep showing up, when you stay committed, when you stay the course even when no one's clapping for you. That's when your roots grow deep. That's when your strength multiplies. You don't need to make noise to be powerful. You don't need to announce your growth. Let your character do that. Let your excellence do that. Let your results speak in a language that no words could ever match. Because when your life begins to reflect the depth of your discipline, no explanation will be necessary. People may not understand how you got there, but they won't be able to deny that you did. Focus on building a life that feels right on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. Don't chase applause. Chase alignment. Don't chase recognition. Chase refinement. Build in silence. Grow in secret. And when it's time, let your success echo through the results you've earned, not the attention you've chased. The world doesn't need another person shouting for validation. It needs more people committed to quiet excellence. Be that person. Let your silence carry the weight of your greatness. Let your focus be so intense, so pure, that nothing can distract you from what you're building. Your purpose is bigger than your need to be seen. Your vision is too important to be interrupted. Stay focused, stay silent, stay relentless. And when the time comes, let the world be stunned by what you built when no one was watching.